Hello, you're very welcome to another episode of Time Materials Podcast. So we've ran the last few weeks an accounting series for those that have been listening in weekly. We brought in three experts. We brought in Kevin from MI Solutions to talk to us about Xero. We brought Sean in from McKeown Group, CFO of McKeown Group, and Sean spoke to us about Sage. And then we brought in Nikki Gorringe-Larkin, who chatted about pros, cons of QuickBooks. And the idea of the series was to get a lot of content together so we can get an understanding, not what is the best accounting or construction accounting software, but more so what's the best construction accounting software for your construction business. And we wanted to bring it all together. So to wrap up the month, I said we'll do one of these solo podcasts where we can try and place this all together. And I suppose the best way that I could come up with really was to label this 5 considerations when choosing a construction accounting software. So based on the information that we've been given from Kevin, from Sean, and from Nikki, based on the 3 most popular softwares, what are some of the considerations we should be thinking of when going to consider changing accounting softwares or implementing new accounting softwares? So the first one that I think about is based on the information that we've extracted from the 3 episodes would be product to company fit. So what do I mean about product to company fit? It means that the product has to fit the company. And where I initially thought of that was, this can't be your accountant's decision. Okay, so a lot of accounting practices will have a favorable accounting software. Their staff might be, majority of staff might be trained on one software, and their preference as the accounting company will be to place you as the construction company into their ecosystem, and therefore you as their preferred system. But that doesn't really make sense for you. You're sort of taking the accountant's lead, and you're plugging into their world. So we need to expand beyond the accountant. We need to take more advice than our own accountant. We need to go out and maybe speak to other construction companies that look like us. Maybe we need to just do a quick spot check with a couple of other accountants. And what we really want to establish is, what do companies that look like me use? Why do they use them? But that's not just it. We have to think a little bit beyond that. We have to think about what does this accounting software offer me in terms of where I want to be. So a point that I think both Kevin and Nikki both made when we talked on the separate episodes was, as a company, where am I today? But where am I going? And does this particular software package offer me what I'm going to need in terms of where I want to be in, say, 2-3 years' time? So, for example, maybe we're thinking about the possibility of stocking. Okay, we might stock some product. Weight materials are all over the place at the moment. Maybe we're considering, it might be beneficial for us as a company to manage some stock. So does that accounting, if we're to make that this particular decision, does this accounting software offer that for us? So what I'm getting at is flexibility. It's not just based on a decision of where your company is today. So, talk about product to company fit. It's not about the product fitting your company today. Does the product fit where your company is going to be, or where you want the company to be in 2-3 years' time? So it's really about understanding and planning for the future. So not just taking our accountant's advice, and really starting to think about the future of the company. And does this particular product offer us the functionality that we're going to need, or we believe we're going to need in 2 or 3 years' time? The second option I would think about is company buy-in. So in our company, who are the key users of this particular package? So, and what problems does it solve for them? Or what problems do we need it to solve for this particular user? And then bring them into the decision. So I think what we want to do is, we want to get an understanding of how things are operating today within the particular users that are going to be using the software. And then the second thing we need to think about is the impact that this is going to have on them, so we can get them involved in the decision making. So if we have 2 or 3, we've got somebody that looks after invoicing, for example. We've got maybe someone does a bit of purchasing, and we've got 2 or 3, maybe 4 key users of the product around the company. Well, then we should bring them all together and make everybody involved in the decision-making process, or maybe involved in setting the criteria of what we expect when we implement new software, or if we're looking to implement new software. What are the key points? So bringing them people together into that decision making process. When I think about company buy-in as well, one of the things that popped up across the series was the remote working, for example. So Kevin shot the episode from an empty office. And he talked about, most of his clients are in similar position. People are working remotely. So how important is that to you to have that flexibility? And one of the reasons we would think about that when we went through Sean's episode is, a lot of the Sage 50 stuff is partly cloud. QuickBooks, for example, mostly still have QuickBooks, still have their desktop. It's mostly online. But are we getting the full cloud functionality? So that, and we think about company buy-in, so that certain users can have the ability to work remotely and have all the tools they need to do so. So I would be thinking about the buy-in of the users and the functionality required within the software to allow them users to use the software effectively. The next one is integration. So we touched on the earlier point. Example being stock, for example. We may use stock going forward. Does it offer us this? And I think Nikki's example on the QuickBooks episode was around QuickBooks projects, for example. I think in Nikki's words, it was average. So what integration does this package offer us? That should we feel that certain functionality when the package needs a bit extra, it needs a bit more focus in my particular niche, what does it offer us? And like, we have to always consider that accounting packages serve multiple industries. So it's never going to get into the nitty gritty that we want to get into. It's never going to tick absolutely every single box. But remember, what we're paying for these systems in comparison to what we would have paid previously is a fraction of the cost. So we have to sort of take a bit of the good with the bad here. But plugins are the answer to this. So if the system falls over in a certain area, what are they offering from an integration point of view that allows me to solve that problem? So having a deep look at, again, and this might not just be for the integrations and plugins that you're looking for today, but what do they offer in terms of integrations and plugins that you may require going forward? The next area I think of is about training and support. So if I think about the 3 episodes separately, Kevin touched on Xero being, they rely heavily on the partner program. So if you're going through a partner, you might have an existing relationship built with that particular partner. They're going to support you, no real issue. Are you buying Xero direct and looking after some setup yourself, and therefore you're going to rely on Xero's online support? Sean mentioned in his episode that Sage have quite a good support network through, I think they rely heavily as well through channel partners as well. And from memory, Nikki had said that QuickBooks offer 24/7 support. So in considering support, I suppose what's important to your business, and I suppose I'd be asking questions such as, what level of support do companies like me receive? What we're trying to get to here is we're trying to set expectations. If I contact you today with a support issue, when should I expect to receive support on that particular issue? And that's what we're trying to get to. So we understand then that if I raise the same support issue with company A, company B, company C, which one is going to look after my needs? And that's really what we're trying to get to. So get an understanding, I suppose, first of all, companies that look like me, generally what type of support do they receive or need to receive? And then when I raise that support issue, do I feel it's going to be dealt with in a way that, first of all, I'm happy with? Yeah, okay, that's fine. One company might say it's 24-hour response time. That might not be a problem for you. Other companies might say, well, no, don't accept that. So what's the alternative? So what we're trying to get to is an understanding of how what our expectations might be around support, so we can deal with that. The other thing I would think about in terms of training and support is what if we get a new employee, for example? Is that going to be an ongoing cost? So if every new employee comes onto this system, is this something they're going to pick up? Is it something they're going to self-taught? Is it something that we're just going to advertise that they must be experienced on this particular software package? Or is it a fact that we're going to have to retrain people each time we employ? And is that a cost that we need to consider too? Which brings me to the last point, which is price. So generally speaking, most of these, when we look at them at face value, are pretty similar in price. But it's when we start to add on things and we start to look at additionals, like maybe we need maybe a lot more users, or maybe we need for this to work for us, it's going to be a certain plugin. So I think what we're trying to get to here in terms of price is not what the list price is, or so let's say they have a list price on the website. It's probably going to be more like the training costs, the add-on costs. Well, this product works for me, but I'm going to need X amount of users, and I think I need that plugin and that plugin, and maybe in 2 years' time I might go for that plugin too. What's that cost going to be? So when I would evaluate and think about price, I wouldn't be thinking about what the list price is today and making any decisions based on that. I'd be thinking about what I believe I'm going to need on this particular product going forward, and then I'd be making a decision about what does that price look like in terms of when I add my add-on in, when I add my users in, what does the end game look like? I'm making the price decision, or if price is up for debate, that's where we should be debating at where we think this price is going to get to. And then I suppose if I'm summarizing all of that, I'm thinking about making a list. I think I touched on this earlier. So first of all, it's every company's different, right? That's the first place to start with this. So going into your accountant, as I touched on earlier, going into your accountant and saying, I need accounting software, and we just get put onto this package, probably doesn't make great sense. So I think if I'm summarizing this, I'm getting everyone together with an idea of how can I establish what is a good product to company fit for us. I'm getting all the users involved so we can get a better understanding as a business owner what people expect and what they need and what's going to make life easier. I'm probably making a list of criteria of what's really important to us as a company. So plug in, add on, extra project feature. For example, it's going to give me an extra area of detail. Maybe I want a certain looking report at a certain time, and I want to be able to get access to that very easily. That's a really important feature. This is why we're making the move in the first place. So I'd be setting up a list of criteria. What is absolutely important to us as a company? And I'd be going out and I'd be assessing each of these systems individually based on the criteria that I've set for my individual company. And then we're making an informed decision. What I would say as well is that it's very difficult to make that informed decision without getting your hands onto these systems. So, for example, we don't yet know what that plugin maybe does because we're using something different today. Maybe we're using a different accounting software plus Excel, and we're looking at this other option where maybe it's fully integrated. It looks great on a demo. We really think this could be the answer for us, but how do we really know? We probably don't until we get it in and get our hands dirty. So, for example, if the problem in the company is that we're just spend too much time processing invoices, the way we process invoices is broken. It's coming in paper, it's getting passed around the office, and it gets some sort of approval system. By the time it makes it onto accounts, like that, if that system is broken, and that's one of the reasons that we're looking to evaluate new ways of doing things. And maybe it's that plus reporting is just not good enough the way we report. And if they're two of your top, criteria and decision making criteria, how do we know that this particular new option or new accounting package can answer that? We probably don't until we test it. So I'd be looking at, a 2 month or, run it for a quarter, and make a decision. So run the way we do things today, run the new alternative, and make a data informed decision that there's how it works today. That's how it's going to look like in the future. And based on our criteria, this is going to make an impact on our business. So if you haven't listened to the episodes, obviously go back and have a listen. There is really some good stuff in there around accounting software as a whole, pros, cons. We try our best to get into the nitty gritty of each individual system. And I suppose as a summary or a way to pull it all together, if you want, there's my 5 considerations of what I'd be thinking about when I'm choosing the best accounting software. So I hope that brings some value to you. And please don't be afraid to leave any reviews or comment, or if you have any feedback on any of that, or you need any help with any of that, always willing to jump in and provide any help where possible. So that's it. We'll wrap it up for another one, and we'll see you again on the next one. Cheers.